Yeah, as Biko, I think Biko already introduced me. My name is May. I work as a solution engineer at Esri, and I'm here to help us unlock patterns within our data sets using the biggest component of our platform, which is a system of insights. And that's what I'll jump right into for this particular session. So when you talk about ArcGIS being a system of insights, the main thing that comes up is analytics and data models and how we enable you to see patterns that you'd otherwise ignore. That's where the system of insights sits right in. And ideally, it builds up on where we started off with Godfrey looking at the system of records and building that foundation really well in ensuring that we have a very robust model that captures everything that goes on within our grid or our networks. And then we came in with other different data streams, right? Evelyn showing us how we can report outages within our network and enabling customers to also being a part of that. And that ideally shows what MTM are doing. How do we bring about a system of engagement which is powered by the portal or by our enterprise systems? And then now we are right at the heart of it. How do we unlock insights from all these data streams to understand what's going on within our data sets? So we are a system of insights. We have a couple of tools which I've not been able to capture all here, but I've captured a few with just the taglines from what those tools represent for me and for Esri. And I'm thinking maybe as we go on, you'd probably be able to know what tools these are by just from the screenshots. There's basically the next generation desktop GIS, which is ArcGIS Pro. Monica has just thrown in a question on that. And that's a very powerful tool. I'll showcase what it can be able to do for us in utilities. There's Insights, which is also how are we integrating BI into spatial analytics? That's a very also powerful tool. We are also continuously evolving and being a very scalable system. And that's where IoT real-time data comes in, and things like geoanalytics and ArcGIS Velocity sit right there at the heart of all this evolution. So we are a system of insights, and that's what we want to unlock today. I'll take us through insights, and then I think we'll get right into the demo right before we end this particular session. I don't know if you guys have interacted with insights, but this is the very basis of my team, really non-traditional GIS users. I think we're used to analytics being done by a cartographer who's basically creating a map and beautifying it. Then it comes to a GIS analyst who does the analytics. But as we're going on, you've noticed that even with MTM, with MTN Ghana, there's different departments that are coming in. And I think it would be really interesting to open that user market and ensuring that all these users within departments are taken care of. That's what ArcGIS Insights is about. And what we are unlocking within our organizations is statistical analysis, exploratory analysis, and what Insights is also bringing in, we are opening it up to open data science tools. So now if you're good with Python and R, then the tool is also sort of, it allows you to connect to your kernels and be able to connect to your Jupyter notebooks within the interface. What's also pretty exciting with Insights is the fact that we're now giving you access to, just the same way on ArcGIS Pro, you notice that we've always had access to your flat files like the CSV files. But now with Insights, whether it's spatial data or non-spatial data, where your Excel sheet basically does not have XY, but you still need to understand what's going on and unlock patterns within it. Insights is able to consume that information. It's also able to work with relational databases and enterprise databases. So ideally, SAP, Oracle, Microsoft SQL, we've opened that up to ensure that departments and all of you are able to read from multiple data streams, whether you're running it within your desktop, your online, or your web environment. And I think I'll introduce that on how the tool has evolved to a point where we even have a desktop component of ArcGIS Insights, where if you feel like you want to work offline, then we also have alternatives or options for you within that same tool. I think what's also quite interesting to note down with the Insights is, and this is what really makes this tool very unique, in the sense that we are bringing all these user roles together. And these are user roles that ideally exist within your organizations. In a utility company, there's definitely a business analyst who wants to understand, where do we expand our network model to? There's definitely a data analyst, there's a business analyst. And traditionally, we are not used to these guys creating maps, right? So we want to change that. We want to enable these guys to create interactive pages and reports that inform decisions within organizations. We are also giving them the power to build analytical models within ArcGIS Insights and be able to document their workflow and share it with a sales manager who needs to understand territory analysis, an engineer who needs to understand power outages and how it's affecting customers. But there's also customer care who sits right at the heart of utilities, because we've seen how we've evolved as users of utility from the utility industry. As a user in Kenya, I know for sure that if I have a power outage, I will for sure raise my voice on social media. And how can we be able to capture all these data sets to really create a very powerful analytical model that's able to address all these issues that cut across utilities, to ensure that we evolve and we are able to build really smart grids that address the needs of our clients as our needs grow and evolve over time. So that's what ArcGIS Insights is about, and we look at how we are able to consume the data that Evelyn has just showcased to create exploratory analyses, understand the distribution of these outages, that the form that she's just showcased, but also being able to understand the network overloads within our model and what meters are connected to what transformers. So it's the nitty-gritty that comes into us understanding relationships and unlocking patterns within our utility networks. And that's what we're here for. That's what we want us to be able to unlock within our utility networks, and just give the best possible services for our users and our clients and all stakeholders. So how insights work. So these, for those who are running on ArcGIS Online, which we refer to as software as a service, you can still run it within that particular environment. There are those here who are running on ArcGIS Enterprise. The tool still can be resides in both of those systems, where you can decide to run it either on your enterprise or on your online environment. Now, what has come in that was initially not there is Insights Desktop. So now we are allowing you to be able to install it within your infrastructure, and this means that whether you're running still on online or on desktop, you can decide to shift that and just run it the way you run Pro. Do the installation and ensure that you're powering it up with your desktop from your desktop environment. Of course, the difference comes in that when you're talking about you running it on desktop, it's purely based on your local CPU processing power, right? But also the advantage is you can work offline, because it's ideally on your desktop. You don't need to go to the browser, log into your ArcGIS Online account to be able to run the tool. So that's the dynamics you're bringing in, and this ideally is inspired by the fact that when you look at how we work, these definitely options of us working remotely where we are in disconnected environments. So we still want to be able to create analytics from that same environment without being limited by connectivity or internet connections. Now the tool is still has the same capabilities. When you're running it on desktop, you're able to connect to your flat files, your CSVs, or your shape files. You're still able to connect to your enterprise databases, whether it's Oracle, SAP. These still same capabilities reside within the desktop environment, and still you're able to connect to your data science tools. Where you're running on Python and R, you can still run it within the desktop environment of ArcGIS Insights. And also there is the enrichment capabilities, which I think is a really powerful component of the platform, in that as soon as you get the platform, we're already a step ahead in giving you additional layers that you can use to overlay, or you can use to understand drive times, or you can use Living Atlas to bring in more information into your workflows. And this is still resides within Insights Desktop. So basically what we are doing is you're allowing you to run Insights within your online environment, within your ArcGIS Enterprise environment, but you feel like you want to be able to run it offline as well, we're giving you the power of running it within Insights Desktop. And those are the three options we are providing for this particular tool. So these are a couple of screenshots from the ArcGIS Insights gallery, and I think I'll just let me just minimize this, and then we'll get to. So this is the Insights landing page. We have an entire page for that. As soon as you just go on Google and type in on ArcGIS Insights, there's a landing page with a gallery page as well. So the gallery page is really to allow you to view what other people have created globally. And you notice that you can filter the gallery by the industry you're in. So ideally, if you're probably interested in utilities or transportation, then you're at liberty to filter that out. Let me just, so these, why can't I see utilities? Yeah, networks and utilities. So you're able to see what other telcos or other utility industries, how they're consuming ArcGIS Insights. Now, what's also quite exciting is we are giving you a trial version of that. So I know we are all new to, for those who've not used it and those who want to understand whether this works for your network and how you can use that, there's a free trial that you can be able to explore, and just sign up for it. And I think the team here is able to work with you to create very intelligent workbooks that can be able to inform your organizational needs. What's also quite exciting is the fact that this website also contains the Insights desktop. So in an instance where you need to install it, then the installation is still available within this same website. So that's a brief workaround around that. So I'll shift us right into the analytics. I'll start with Pro and then we'll shift to Insights. And for Pro, there's a tool I just thought it would be interesting to showcase, since it's a utilities extension or utility toolbox that would really change the game for utilities and how we look at our data and our information models. So this is data that from Evelyn's demo on the geoform, I added a couple of dummy data sets to just try and mimic information that's coming in from our customers on outage reportings. So this is ArcGIS Pro, and I've just loaded a few of these points, some of the dummy points from that particular geoform. Now, one of the tools that I'm really excited about is the, I think we previously ran, when you come to analysis and tools, I think we've all previously ran the hotspot tool, which ideally would show us where we have more complaints or more customers located within our network. Now, how we are changing that is we are bringing in space-time mining tools. So now we are allowing you to run emerging hotspots tools. And what that means is that on this map, based on the information that Evelyn has just shared on outages, when you run a tool called emerging hotspots tool, it'll take us through the utilities toolbox just to show you what that means. Is we are now allowing us to create a space-time cube, simply because we noticed that even within utilities, data changes with time, right? When a customer submits a complaint or when a meter is fixed, it runs in time. There's a unique time for that particular fix, or there's a unique time for that particular complaint that's coming in. So the space-time cube is allowing us to see how the data is changing in space and in time. And I think this is a huge game changer for utilities. And what this means is that when you look at my map, when you just open this emerging hotspots tool, it feeds on a create space-time cube, which is a netcdf file. And that ideally looks at your data and how it's changing over time within your det column. And what it means is that on this, when you look at my table of contents, you notice that the emerging hotspot tool is no longer giving us an output of cold spots and hotspots. We have like 19 different categories of what's going on within your network and your customer complaints. So there's the first bit, which is showing us this is a new hotspot. So this is an area where it's emerging as an issue area when it comes to customer complaining about outages within our network. Now, what's also you can see is there's a category for consecutive hotspot, intensifying, persistent, but on this particular complaints form, we notice that there's sporadic hotspot. This means that these are areas where the complaints come on and off, right? And ideally what this means is that within our networks, we are now able to model space-time cubes and understand how they are changing in terms of whether they are an emerging issue area we need to address, whether they're a cold spot area that is ideally changing to an intensifying hotspot and eventually changing into a very hotspot area. So this is a very powerful tool, and it's available within the utilities bit of this, and this runs around the time series forecasting of data and understanding how our data changes in space and time. Our complaints are actually shifting horizontally. There's nothing happening vertically. The complaints there are pretty minimal, but you notice that this tool is able to show us the directional distribution of these outages. So these are quite interesting tools, and I think on the next webinars we'll focus on the how to, but I thought this would be really good to showcase on what the utilities toolbox contains in us understanding space and time within the network. So let's get to the fun bit of it, which is why we are here. ArcGIS Insights. I think that was the title of this particular session, and how this is the same data that I've just showcased on Pro. But now let's look at how Insight is able to enable us to understand more patterns and more analytics within this file. So for a start, what Insights does is, you notice that on my, would that be right or left? on my left side of the screen, there's a data set called customers, and these are ideally the meters and who it's connected to and all that information. Now, the very first map you're looking at are device outages, and you notice that within this map, I can clearly pinpoint and say that we can clearly tell where we have a hotspot of outages that have existed within our map. Now, what I really like about Insights is, allow me to drag this here and just begin from the bottom to just show you how the charts work before I demonstrate what I've created. So on this particular, we have location information. So when I drag this location, it's as simple as drag and drop. So literally, when I talked about we are opening this up for anyone to inform decisions and create modernized grids, that's what we're talking about. It's literally drag and drop. So these are customers' information. And you notice that as soon as you drag this, you're able to understand where they're located. And of course, we've maintained the pop-ups where when you click on a location, you're able to tell the details that are going on within that location. So when I open this table, you still have access to view what's within that particular data, where we are seeing the prepaid, whether the phase they're connected to, their numbers, the date the installation was made, and then there's details on whether they've experienced outages or not. Now, when you look at this file, if I just do a simple density analysis, so I'll come to my map, and when you click here, there's options for you to be able to view your information, whether as a heat map or as a bin. And what this means is, can you be able to see areas of high concentration and low concentration? And I've just highlighted that one location. You notice that as soon as I select this location, everything on the card changes to show me the distribution. So within that location, you notice that the issue there is a switch within the grid. And what's happening with the switch is there's a defective switch that's going on that's been affected within that particular bit of the network. Now, what's also exciting is, so now that I've recorded that, I've added that map. These are our customers and where they're located. Now, I want to pick and understand. You notice that up here, I have a grid chart that shows me, for example, if I select a transformer here, it shows me what most of our transformers failures are linked to. You notice that when I click that, it's changing everything on the card to show me details about our transformer. So for a start, you notice that for our transformers, most of them, 138 of them are facing network overloads, and this is affecting 138 customers. There's also a power surge issue and overheating of transformers, but there's also a huge chunk here where 36 transformers we've experienced vandalism with our transformers. So what I like about this chart is it allows us to be able to understand how data is related categorically. So I'll show how that's done. So for example, if I take here the reason for a power outage, and I also want to understand how the power outages are linked to the devices within the grid. So I'll also come here and pick the type of device, because that's where I've hosted information on whether it's a transformer or whether it's a, so as soon as you click that and drag, the platform is smart enough to ask you what you want to create. So if I drop it on a code diagram, it's able to show me how the different network failures are linked to the specific device. So if I pick, for example, let me start with a switch. You notice it changes and shows me that the biggest failure to our switch are weather conditions. And then there's also defective switches. So this is where we are able to question our data. Is it the supplier of the switches, or is it the maintenance date for these switches? But as soon as I've highlighted on switches, everything else on the card changes. So you notice the switches are the biggest contributor of power outages in this particular utility model. And also when you go up, it's showing us where those customers live and also where we've gotten most of the calls that are coming in due to outages. So what Insight is basically doing is we are allowing you to question your data and understand patterns that would have otherwise gone unnoticed within our grids. Now, as I'm doing that and creating the charts on the fly, we are documenting that. So guys, this is enabling everyone to create models. You notice on Pro, you're creating model bit by bit. The model is being created in the backend as I'm creating the cards. And what this means is that as soon as I've created the model, I'm able to share with any other member of the team to be able to consume that model and maybe understand or unlock more patterns I had otherwise not noticed. So this is also pretty powerful in the sense that it's not limited to technical people. Anyone is literally able to generate insights, be able to create models and share these models with the rest of the team. And the model is quite step by step, where had customers' data from the geoform that Evelyn showcased. Then we viewed their network outages. We were able to understand the devices that we have. Then we are also able to understand what the outages are linked to, whether it's a weather scenario, whether it's vandalism, or whether it's a network overload. And then at the same time, we are also able to understand that switches are the biggest contributors of our blackouts. And ideally, what this means is, can we be able to get value for investments within our networks? And that's what Insights is basically allowing us to do as a tool within our enterprise system. So before I end, I wanted us to also look at one more bit within the tool, and that's what's coming up. This is also things that are also exciting on the Insights roadmap. So we are definitely connect for, I think with the next release of Insight will be around March 30th. And for that, we are connecting to more data sets. So for those who use Snowflake and Google BigQuery, we're going to be able to read those. We're going to be able to connect to those files. There's also being able to connect to Java-based connections. So we are also bringing that within the tool, and being able to schedule a refresh analysis, where if you want your workbook to refresh after every 2 minutes, 2 seconds, depending on how fast the field guys collect data or how fast the data streams come in, that will be the next release. And also being able to export data sets. What's coming out is definitely more analytical tools that are coming out. We're going to have better printing support for the tool, where you can just click on print and it exports it to your PDF for you to share with the rest of the teams within your organization. So these are pretty exciting road plans that is coming up for Insights. I think I'll hand it over back to you, because I think this would also be a really exciting discussion point, to just look at how are we able to leverage from telcos to Arusha Water, who are going to present next, and even what was presented initially on MTM. How can we change? What does this mean for BI, and what does this mean for integrating BI and spatial analytics? Because this ideally changes how we look at spatial data, and changes the notion that spatial analytics is limited to GIS professionals. This is now opening it up to all departments and ensuring that utilities operate at optimum, and we have very modernized grids that meet the demands of the market. Yeah, Biko, I'll throw it back to you. Thank you.